Hello, how are you? um, hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Today I've got the Six of Swords as the obstacle and Strength as the opportunity. Let's get started with this one. Just a quick recap of what I said in the short video. I was talking about how words can be thought of as tools that try and capture the the essence of something that we encounter in the world. And depending on what that is, words can do a better or worse job at capturing it effectively. I mean, you could tell someone that you saw a dog in the park, and while the thing they will imagine will be close to what you experienced in some ways, I mean, unless you specify the breed, they're just thinking it's some generic dog, right? Um, I owe you $5 is pretty straightforward. You know who I am, you know what O means, we know who you are, five is five, and dollars is the currency. Things like that, especially when dealing with like mathematics, really abstract concepts, they tend to be represented by words very accurately. But then there's a lot of stuff that we use, there's a lot of words that we use that attempt to describe and encapsulate really vague experiences that don't even really have any sort of tangible shape in the world. And the example I gave was like being in love with someone, falling in love, let's say, or for that matter any emotion. You could presume that maybe the person you're telling that to is going to use their experiences of what they called that thing as a placeholder to imagine what you felt. But how do you know those feelings are anything alike? And this is just, tough. It's one of the limitations that we have. It's still really fantastic that we have language. I mean, we could certainly come closer to try and represent the experiences that we have than had we no language at all. And there are other things. There are the arts, which also attempt to, and to a certain degree, capture often those more nuanced experiences like emotions and things. But nonetheless, the obstacle that I think might be sort of in question here is when you use a word to describe something, that word is like, it's kind of just like an arrow that's there to point at that experience that it's trying to describe. Sometimes it's pretty easy for us to get distracted and preoccupied with the word itself as opposed to the thing that it's trying to indicate. I remember Bruce Lee had a pretty cool quote about this, even though it would surprise me if he was quoting Lao Tzu or something. But he described something similar as a finger pointing at the moon. The goal there is to draw attention to the moon. But if you stare at the finger, you miss the whole point, right? It's not the signal, it's not the indicator that's pointing to the thing. It's the thing you're supposed to be looking at. So I think it's important to keep in mind how varied the efficacy of words is when they attempt to describe certain things, and you know sort of keep in mind that even within a sentence we could have words in a sentence that have very clearly understood meanings insofar as everyone more or less would have the same definition without any variance. And then sometimes some of the words in the sentence are just like they rely on very personal experiences, and often we don't even bat an eye, right? We're just like, oh yeah, this sentence, I understand it. Sometimes in those situations, it really helps to pay attention to which words it might be useful to get some elaboration on, to be like, okay, just so you know you love me, okay, like, what do you mean? I mean, that's probably the least romantic way to put it. um, but but yeah, and especially in scenarios like that, I think it certainly doesn't hurt to elaborate on what someone is saying instead of imagining that the thing they mean by a particular word has the exact same meaning as what that word means to you. You know, it could save you a lot of headaches in the future. And strength. I always like this card. I thought it was kind of, I was imagining it as like, not the kind of strength that just like overpowers this lion, but like it's like a finesse. It's like a finesseful, gentle strength. It's like the minimum amount of effort necessary to subdue this animal, and it could be like, you know, other people could come along and try and tackle this thing and fight it, and then but this person's got it figured out, like just the right touch in the right places, the right whatever mood or something, sing the thing a song, whatever it takes, but just like that kind of finesse. um, One of the interesting differences between the Waite card and the Marseille card, well, that's not right. Now I can't. Never mind. I should get that figured out. Yeah, the Marseille card. It also depicts a woman, and she is also sort of holding the head of this. Maybe it's a lion, some sort of beast, but we don't see the rest of the body of the animal, and it's emerging kind of from like it. It kind of looks like it's coming out from under her dress, and I always liked that design of the card because it makes it seem like this woman is like controlling her, you know, her like sexy impulses, like her libido or whatever. Like it's like maybe the effort it takes to maintain some degree of modesty or something to like keep yourself in check, you know. And yeah, for the short video, I said something along the lines of how like taming animals, you know, takes time and effort. And I mean, I recently trained a cat to jump through like a hoop that I can make with my arms, sort of, and that took time. And when I showed the trick to someone, you know, they didn't see all of the time that it took me to train the animal. It's not like I was showing them a, you know, a 1980s movie training montage, which would have been adorable. But nonetheless, it's when you see someone go, hey, check it out, like, you know, this cat didn't know how to do this, and now look at the thing it can do. There's this like, I think most people react. They have an immediate instinctive reaction of, on some level, understanding that things like that require effort and commitment and patience and willpower and whatever. Same thing as, or at least it's my my hypothesis that when you see someone, where you know, you see a video or in person, you see someone pulling off some really coordinated trick or something, like the skateboarding tricks, they're good at juggling, it's some skydiver, I don't know, something where you can tell they're skilled, right? I think beyond the immediate, you know, entertaining kind of value of looking at something and thinking to yourself like, wow, that looks really cool and interesting. I think underneath that there's a significant chunk of that, you know, that feeling of being impressed, where there's some, I believe that there's some subconscious recognition, like this doesn't just happen. You can't just get on a skateboard and decide I'm going to do a crazy trick, you know. And maybe even if you're not, you know, thinking that consciously as you're watching someone do skateboarding tricks, on some level you know that this is, you're not just looking at a cool trick, you're looking at the most recent point in time along someone's, you know, development of these skills and tricks. And that like, did this take like months? Did it take a year? Is this someone, has this person been doing this for a decade? Is that how long it takes to get to this level of that kind of, and especially I'm kind of thinking of people that not only are able to perform really cool moves and tricks and whatever, but they make them look easy, you know? They're very graceful and again finesseful, where it's like, minimal effort. They just, man, I love seeing musicians like sometimes I really like drums. I mean, I like all. I'm a multi instrumentalist, but I like drums, and I love watching really good drummers because I'm just okay. I just like to play. But when I play, if I play some sort of really fast breakdown, and my hands are just flying all over the place, watching a really really great drummer, it's like there's almost no movement of their arms. Their arms just kind of float, like slowly float over the drums. If you just focus on the drumsticks are a blur, but their arms aren't as like, rigidly kind of snappy. It's this like beautiful, gentle motion. Yeah, so things like that. I think a lot of those things are immediately recognized, and I think a part of the respect and admiration, recognition of that thing comes from on some level recognizing that there's a lot of self-discipline that goes into that, and I don't think it's just tricks. I don't think it's just mastery of certain tools or whatever BMX bikes or something. I think a lot of things are recognized, and I think the opportunity here is maybe to have some personal quality, some aspect of your personality or character that you've invested some time into that maybe you're not even aware you're in good control of, but nonetheless the opportunity to have some character trait, a mastery or at least a proficiency of some character trait be recognized. And this could be something just as simple as like patience, uh, like managing boredom, or obviously things like you know resisting pain or being able to not get freaked out or discouraged by a situation, but just anything that's essentially a byproduct of willpower that keeps you consistently doing something, and an act that often appears as though it's the byproduct of you having done something over and over and over. But yeah, I think there's a special type of admiration that people instinctively feel for individuals when they recognize this, and I think there's like a type of admiration and like and often a very strong attraction, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be like a romantic or sexual attraction, but like kind of attraction where you know you recognize a skill or a quality in someone that you respect. Often it's the case that you recognize how much work that takes, and you're just you just feel yourself attracted to them, even if it's just like a hobby that you share or something. You're like, I want to get to know this person. I want to interact with this person. So for anything like meeting friends, obviously meeting potential romantic, sexual, intimate partners, um, but like also maybe impressing someone at work or something, making yourself more attractive in any environment. But yeah, and I think this card kind of does a pretty good job at depicting that kind of control over something that in most of us is like kind of wild and uncontrolled. Again, like I was kind of thinking of boredom because I know a lot of people who just they they can't. It's like they're incapable of just okay, just sit there for 5 minutes and do nothing and just like wait. We have to wait for something, and after a minute, they're like, "Oh, I'm so bored." It's like that boredom is like that's the animal, and it's like if you can, in that case anyway, if you could tame it, but like finessefully, is that a word? Finessefully, finessely. Um, yeah, I think there's always a big opportunity to have that kind of graceful strength be recognized, and then to benefit from it. That's going to be it for me for today. Thanks for watching. Drop me a like if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment free reading in the comments to be entered into a draw for a free reading. And I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. Take care.